that guy. Nothing off limits when I cross the line. I talk shit when I'm justified. They wanna get it, I'ma give it.
The problem is there's an 11-second delay.
Which means that we're gonna have to count to how long is the song? We're gonna have to count to like 30 before we
Yeah.
go to our time pace. Well, that's gonna be on you.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna.
Is that the Kels to go
Well,
with your pace?
you can see the levels of the
Okay.
you can see the levels of the theme song, right?
Mhm.
Okay. What's the thing?
She's taking one more.
Yeah.
What's the what?
You're gonna be able to see the levels of the theme song, so you'll know when to stop. Right?
Yep. I will. And then if you want me to let it run?
Just let it run.
Okay.
Yep. Let it run.
Then I have to turn it off. Because I was.
Yeah. So turn it off on the podcast. It's not gonna do anything.
It's gonna automatically start. Oh no, it's not. Oh, I did shut it off on the podcast. Look, I'm so smart. You get to see your stupid face for 1 second. For 1 second. Okay, share this. What is this?
I was just reading some of the things that are on the other two to talk about. It's good. There's nothing.
They actually have an interesting story. They do because
Well, I will.
You'll intrigue me. I have it. I'm going to. I just yeah. They
Depends on what. Let's keep the best.
I can hear it. I can hear it.
So we are muted.
Unmuted.
We're muted.
I didn't hear it.
No, I heard it on my phone.
I know why.
Oh, we have a
This
live
one.
mic somewhere in the room. There it is. That's the one. Hey, look, I'm only used to.
Well, you gotta want to get the one that's taking all the audio out.
You have a live mic in the room somewhere.
It's gone. We turned it off.
Well, somebody just said
Yeah, I
that.
know.
How embarrassing.
It's still live.
How embarrassing.
We still have a live mic in the room somewhere.
Baby, I'm that guy. Nothing off limits when I cross the line. I talk shit when I'm justified. They wanna get it, I'ma give it to them. Just in time. Who's that? Baby, I'm that guy. Nothing off limits when I cross the line. I talk shit when I'm justified. They wanna get it, I'ma give it to them. Just in
All right, I think we're live. Are we live? Are we
We're
here?
live.
Are we here?
Are we okay?
Welcome to the show. You guys are just in time. Some just in time. Thank you for joining us. We have one hell of a fucking show for you today. We've had an interesting weekend. I was part of an interesting weekend. I have a guest on the show that was part of a very interesting weekend. So we are going to discuss all of these things. But before we do, first I'd like to welcome you all to the show. Make sure that you comment. We will be reading your comments throughout the show. If you have something to say, something to add to the conversation, put it in the comment section, and we will absolutely address it. With me, as usual, are my two sidekicks and Passe, Andrew and Kels. Say hello to your friends.
Well,
Hi, everybody.
Hello, friends.
It's great to almost see you, sort of.
No, well, they can see
It's-
you. You can't see
But
them.
I can see their comments, so technically I can
that's
see
true.
them as well.
That's true. That's true.
Apparently,
It's great to see you.
Justin's very tiny.
Get engaged.
His mic might.
I'm in the background. No, you don't want to do that. Yeah, we'll just leave it right there.
Well, no, nobody can hear you.
You can't hear me?
Yeah,
Oh, no.
you're very tiny.
I'll fix this live.
No,
on
I
here.
got it.
No, it's not on.
Just do this real quick.
No, don't do
Yeah.
that.
No, I'm going to do that. Because if I don't do that, then we're going to be hearing squealing the whole time.
I
We
now
don't
have
want
a
that to be
whole
thing.
space
So,
over here.
Can you guys hear me? Am I coming in clear? Testes, 1, 2, 3.
3?
3. Yeah, all three of them.
All
All
of them.
three of them.
Good evening, everyone.
And of course, I'm going to keep my phone handy right here because I have my notes. And that is what we're going to do.
I have notes too.
Are we good? Can everybody hear me? Are we good?
Nope.
No.
That's a big no.
That's a big no.
What's the no? They can't hear me at all?
That might do it.
Do you have me muted on...
Nope.
No one has you muted.
You are not muted on anything.
Am I completely muted on the
Not the podcast.
Huh?
No, you can't be. It's your show.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, we
What's
always.
happening?
You know what? It wouldn't be a just-in-time podcast if we didn't have audio issues.
Yeah.
It's just kind
For
of
now.
how it rolls.
Oh boy.
They're saying that you're muffled. You sound far away, but they can hear you.
Oh, that's a thing.
What about now, guys?
Oh, my mic isn't coming through. I'm the issue now.
No, you're the when no one touched your stuff.
I know. My shit hasn't got moved at all. I sound like I'm on the other.
A podcast with Just in Time if we didn't have
If
one audio issue.
some audio issue.
All right, now I just feel like I'm too loud. I'm scared.
You're not
I'm
allowed.
afraid to speak.
No, you're fine.
All right, we're live. We're here. We're gonna. I'm gonna let you guys work it out. While you guys work it out, I am going to. I'm just gonna move on with things because I have to because I'm live. People can see me. Hey. All right.
Hey, girl, hey.
So with that being said, we're gonna jump into our speed rack. So, speed rack. And as those of you that have viewed the show before know, our speed rack round is we just talk about something random. I have cards over here. I just pick a card. We talk about whatever's on the card, and that's how we kind of get into the show. So with that being said, I'm going to pick this one. A time I locked myself out of my apartment or house. No, that's gay. The dumbest thing I've ever seen someone do. I can think of something right now. Say that something was gay and then throw a card across the room. That was the dumbest thing I've ever
wasn't-
done.
That
That's
is
the dumbest thing I ever
100.
did.
No, the dumbest thing that I have ever seen is somebody get beaten up by their own seatbelt.
That was also me.
That was you.
me.
That was
also me.
that was you.
I was climbing out of my car and my foot got stuck in my seatbelt and I face planted. We won't talk about whether or not alcohol was involved that night.
No, it
But
wasn't.
we will say that I was pretty beat up.
Yeah, you definitely
I was
looked
pretty
like
beat up. That was bad.
you definitely looked like you said the wrong thing to the wrong person that night.
That was a bad time.
Anything happen? Facial
Yeah, oh yeah,
facial wise?
My face was jacked up.
No.
It was bad. Yeah, it was bad.
No.
It was pretty serious. I'm not gonna lie, but it was a thing that happened. So anyway, with that being said,
Justin's gain.
can you guys maybe try unmuting and then remuting?
No, it's your gain is significantly lower than ours.
My gain.
Yeah, the gain was lower.
You're good.
Oh, sweet baby
It
Jesus.
was-
Oh, I love it.
Super
Oh,
loud.
now no, you sound sweet as hell.
Yeah, I have to keep pulling the mic further and further away. Though.
Oh, sounds good. Right,
That's
guys?
terrible.
Right, guys.
Why does this always happen?
Kels and Andrew sound
This is
fine.
not-
Justin's
no,
mic
it's
isn't
loud.
working. No, it's not. No one said it's not. It's too loud.
On the monitor, it's too loud.
No, that's fine.
I think it's good.
That's
I'm gonna punch you
fine.
in the
Dick.
in front of
And the wiener.
All right, this is a very important show, guys. So let's dive into this. All right. So we're gonna get into our top shelf right away.
Yee.
So this past weekend we had Drag Queen Storytime in both Fall River and Taunton, and in both Drag Queen Storytimes we had issues. They weren't the same issues, but they were both pretty big issues. But a lot of it stems from the same problem, and that is a group known as NSC 131. So, for those of you that don't know who the group is, they are for lack of better terms, they are a neo-Nazi group, and I believe that that's self-proclaimed. They, they're very pro-white power, and
Yee.
they do Hitler signals and things like that, and
Yeah, it's
They're
not,
not
it's not
nice
just
people.
they're not nice people.
They're not
It's-
nice people.
and it's not just about one specific thing. It's a wide variety of things that they disagree with.
Right, correct. It is a wide variety of things that they basically anything that is non-white. So
Yeah.
that's really
Well,
really
anything that threatens the white race is what their
correct.
motto
Yeah,
is.
anything that puts them in jeopardy. Now, the interesting thing about them, I did do a little bit of research, and in my research, I found out that they are a New England-based group. They then expanded, and they were across the country. They got to the point where they were claiming that they had branches in like Germany and stuff too.
France, Hungary, Germany, yeah.
Right. And then something happened, and now they are only New England based, and that's, I mean, supposedly the case that they're only based out of New England. But they do counter protests, they do flash demonstrations, they send out flyers, they do graffiti, and they're very, and every article that I read has used the same term, and that's neo-Nazi. And it's very serious. It's a serious matter. So, with all that being said, we had our Drag Queen Storytimes in Taunton and Fall River, and I was actually at the Fall River one because I'm part of the Fall River Pride Committee. I'm also now on the board for the South Coast Network. So I'm part of both networks. Oh, actually, speaking of the South Coast Network and the Fall River Pride Committee, today's episode is sponsored by
There you go.
the Fall River Pride Committee. So let's just put that up on the screen. There we go, right there. So yeah. Anyway, so I'm a part of both of those, but I was in Fall River at the Fall River Drag Storytime. So that's the situation that I can recount and I'll be able to discuss with you guys. But before we get into that, I do have some questions for you because you are part of the drag community. Before we dive into what happened this past weekend, I'd just like to know if you have had any situations that have happened with you or...
Yeah, and so I should probably state that I'm a drag king and not a drag queen, which is the opposite, and a lot of people don't know that there are women who dress in drag as men and perform. It's the same thing, it's just different.
So let's just first say that drag has evolved immensely.
It's so much, and you can have...
We talked about it with Sabrina originally. It started with drag queens, which was a man that dressed up like a woman. Oh yeah. But I'm saying like the basis of like the
in pop culture,
like in
pop culture right now,
it was drag queens,
Yep.
and nobody really knew that drag kings were a thing. Then drag
and then you have
kings came into the spotlight.
non-binary, and
Now we have non-binary. Now we have AFAB and AMAB, which is assigned female at birth, assigned male at birth, who perform as whatever their assigned gender is. But then they just accentuate those characteristics because that's really what drag is. Drag is an art form. It's very abstract. It can be whatever you want it to be at this point. And again, it's evolved so much from what it originally was. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's fine. No, it's totally fine because you just did the explanation for me, which is great. I'm like, sweet, one less thing for me to say. So yeah, I am a drag king performer. I have only been doing it for a year, and because drag kings are we're a very small community. There's not a lot of this. There's plenty of drag queens, especially after COVID. A lot of handsome young men found their mom's dresses very appealing. So they got to test the waters, and they all came out at the same time after COVID. And so we're a very small community. We don't do much. We don't have a lot of exposure. So I got invited to do a drag queen story time in another town at a library, like you do, as a drag king, which was really cool to me because usually it's a drag queen story hour. So this is going to be drag king, and I was very excited. It was right after Pride Month, and we got so many threats on the event's Facebook page, like cisgendered white straight men on the page being like saying horrible things, and I'm 100% sure that these gentlemen, these folk, had no idea that I was a woman. They just assumed that I was a gay man. And so, you know, right. And because, I mean, you've seen pictures of me in drag. My brother is very handsome. And so I think they didn't know I was a woman. So when I came on to, like, try to defend myself, I was just some bitch talking in the background. And I didn't want to out myself at that point because they were saying some scary shit. And I was like, look, I have been a content creator on the internet for years. I have had 12-year-olds telling me to go on a live myself. Like, I've definitely but this was the first time that I've ever been attacked for being queer.
Right.
And I was like, this is new to me, and oh my God, this is terrifying. So not only did I get perspective that I never had, but it was the first time ever I was afraid for my life.
Yeah.
Like, it was, and so I ended up having to cancel the event. I was like, I can't go. I was too scared. I was far too scared to go, and it was in this podunk town, so like, it wasn't like Fall River or it wasn't a city, it was a town.
Right.
So like, it was a tiny library, and we were probably only gonna get like 15 people. Like,
Right.
so, and I was like, I don't need Jim Bob coming in masks and shit, threatening to kick my ass. I'm 5'1".
Yeah.
Like,
And now, so I wonder too if any of those people were part of the group we were talking about, the NSC.
quite fucking possibly.
Yeah. Now, Andrew,
Yeah.
I know that I asked you to do a little research on this whole thing. What did you come up with? What do you have to add to this?
Well, I mean, as far as the things that you said about NSC 131, I mean, you covered all that ground, but there was something that happened in Boston, and that was with and I gotta say, I love my favorite thing about the drag community is the names.
Oh, the puns.
The names,
All
the
the
puns and the
puns.
names, because that's my thing is puns. We all know that.
Mine's kind
But some of these names are just, it's my favorite part. I love everything about it. But this one that I thought was especially clever was there's a ballet move called pas de bourrée. And there's a woman
Pas de
who...
bourrée.
Pas de bourrée.
Yeah.
Pas de bourée. Okay.
Like, we were both like, that's not right.
Tomato, tomato. Anyways,
So
like,
the drag queen's name was
Patty Bure. Yes.
Oh, that's
Yes.
that's adorable.
Yeah, it's great, which means, and I think it's great because it means you're on your toes and it's a walking or running move, and I think that's great because, but at the same time, her name means walking and running, but she stood her ground.
right.
So no, I thought it was great because she had a lot of backlash, and the same thing that happened in Fall River and Taunton, it happened there, and no, she really stood her
Did she
ground.
stand her ground though?
She absolutely stood her ground.
Canceled the event.
She did cancel the event, but she stood her ground, and she came. I believe they came back. They put things over the windows so that people outside couldn't see in, and they continued the event.
So they prepared.
No, she canceled the event. That's what the article I read was that she canceled. She didn't. She feared in safety for the people that were part of the event, so they canceled the event.
She did say she didn't want to. Yes, there was something about the kids, but there was one where they put the blinds over the windows so that people couldn't get in. And
So was that like a future event or something?
no, it's not a future event. It's one that happened.
After. Well, I'm saying it happened after that happened.
But Boston PD handled it very well, which is the scary thing because you don't know when you're going into these things, whether, especially everything going on with the police, you don't know who's there. But my main thing with the thing that people showing up is you have police there to protect you, but there are people that show up, and I think that's something that everybody worries about is that someone could bring something.
And, yeah, like the AR-15s, like everybody has one of those.
Yeah, but the thing is, there's kids involved here.
Yep.
There's kids involved.
That's my biggest.
I have a
that was
son.
my biggest concern.
I have a son. I would.
Before we get into this, guys, this is going to be a very serious conversation. I feel like that there's somebody else that I'd like to add to the conversation as well when it comes to all of these things. I just wanted to address the Patty Bouret thing. I knew that you were really excited about that.
I was
so
wicked
wanted to
excited.
make sure that we got that out there. But we actually have a very special guest with us today. So I was at the Fall River Pride event, the Storytime, and the president of the Fall River Pride Committee was at that event reading as Miss Gloria, and Sean did a phenomenal job. It was great. Basically went off without a hitch. Unfortunately, Taunton was not so lucky. They had an amazing performer by the name of Monica Moore, who was the one doing the reading for them, and they were met by NSC 131. And I really want to focus on that first before we discuss anything else. And we are very fortunate actually with us to have Monica Moore in the studio. So everyone say hi to Monica Moore. Monica Moore, say hi to everyone.
Hey, Monica.
Hello, everybody.
I don't like the fact that you're prettier than me right now.
She is. She is.
So Monica, first let me start with tell me what happened.
So I arrived to the library as I was supposed to at 9:30. I got prepared. There was a few pictures taken before anybody got there. And I was told that I was going to be reading 2 books that day. One that I was very familiar with and I was so excited to read, which was The Mitten by Jan Brett. And if you don't know what that book is about, it's about a boy who wants white mittens in the snow, but his grandmother said, no, I will not make you them because you will lose them. And he said, no, I promise I won't lose them. And so she makes him the mittens, and he goes and he loses the mitten in the snow. And then animals started to seek refuge, and they started piling into the mitten until it finally explodes. Sorry, spoil.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert! The boy does get back.
ruined the story for me.
No.
Listen, the book's been out since like the 1990s, before I was born. So
And you've told me actually, excuse me, you've told me before that was one of your favorite books, right?
it was,
Growing up,
yeah.
like one of your
I
favorite.
mean, I don't read often because I'm dyslexic, and so,
Wow, you were making a brave choice just to go.
so I mean, I'm dyslexic, so it's just like I don't read books much, but I do remember that much from
Yeah.
my childhood, and I resonated with that book, and I was like, yeah, I will totally read that. I was so stoked to be there, and so we start reading around 10:15. We started a little late so people could pile in. We got about 35 children in front of us with parents and guardians, of course, and we had an idea that these people were out there, the NSC 131. So we got a police detail, and there was, I think that the report was 4 cops. I didn't really count the cops because I was focused on the children, but
All I read was 2 cruisers, I think.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I remember at 10:35 specifically because this one fantastic person, Liz, she told me the time because this is when I heard the doors open and I hear, well, and I'm like, what kind of Batman movie am
Fucking
I in?
Maleficent move! You're mad at the queers and you're quoting Maleficent? Like, come on.
This is quite. What did she say? This is quite the assembly.
Yes.
I was just like, what the hell is this? And I knew immediately who it was, and I look up and it's 4 masked men, and they're screaming things like I'm a pedophile, and they call me a street whore, and I was like, so you think I'm pretty? But the thing is, it was really scary for not only me, but for the children. Like, some parents they feared, and I don't blame them for leaving. I honestly don't. But for the parents that did stay, and for the kids that did stay to listen, it was inspiring to me, and that's why I continued. And I stood my ground and continued to finish these books. I finished reading the second book, but I could not. I think it was called The Snowy Day. But
what kind of things were like? What was happening while you were reading the stories? What kind of stuff was happening in the background?
So from what I could see was that these masked men, they were getting into the parents' face, and they were calling them the problem people too, because how could you expose them to someone like me? But I'm over here just reading a book about a freaking mitten.
Yeah,
lost in the
exactly.
snow.
And they're over there dropping F-bombs and
F-bombs,
No.
call me a
P-bombs
whore,
and-
and call me lust, and all these
Wow.
crazy accusations that I've never been in a situation like this. And
So how is that addressed?
So the police, it is under free speech, I guess, because the police couldn't really do anything unless they were getting in people's faces and they were like being aggressive, which I know one member was
Right.
getting into a parent's face and kind of shoving, so he was removed. But once he was removed, the room filled with more men.
Right.
And so through my second book, I look up and there's about 12 of them
Yep.
screaming and saying these horrible things, or some of them were just standing there and just looking at me, and I felt it in my soul. But what scared me the most was they carried black bags, and I know some of them had knives on their sides, and I know some of them were carrying weapons. And all I could think was Club Q and
Oh,
Orlando
God.
Pulse, and
Yeah.
I was just like, this could go bad very, very quickly. And all I could think of was my fiance was there, and my best friend was there, and I called over Jolene, which is a member of the network, and I thank her for doing this, but she discreetly got them out of the room because my worry was their safety first, because I signed up for this life, they didn't,
Right.
and they don't deserve to be this. But that was my last thought, was this is the last time I'm going to see my partner and
Right.
my best friend, and like, it was so scary.
Yeah.
But I continued, and I stood my ground, and I read the books, I asked questions, and I think we maybe ended 20 minutes early, but
Right.
I still completed what I was supposed to do.
So I do know that they did post something after everything was disbanded and everything, saying that they successfully, disrupted Drag Queen Storytime and they successfully ended it or whatever. But I mean, you guys basically accomplished what you wanted to accomplish. You ended it like 20 minutes early. But I do want to address some of the things that you said. I tend to try to play devil's advocate when it comes to any situation, and I mean, I know that we're dealing with a very extreme white supremacist group here, but I do want to point some things out. So first of all, the reading was done in a public library. So in terms of the law, you're not allowed to deny anyone access to the public library. So regardless of the fact that these people were part of the group they were part of, they legally have every right to enter the establishment, and that's number one. Number two is, as long as they aren't being disruptive, they aren't creating a scene, they aren't creating an issue, they have every right to be there. So,
And it's that second point.
And again,
Yeah.
they're in a library, so if they bring a backpack, like, what if they're going there to do some research on
Right, exactly.
Hitler or whatever?
But
and they have
it's
their-
I know, because
You know what I mean? And
excuse
then
me, do you carry
can't-
Mein Kampf? Like,
The
you know.
thing is, you can't discriminate, and
Right.
and when you're in this kind of situation and you're fighting for rights and you're fighting for equal rights and all that stuff, it's one of those double-edged swords where you can't tell them that they can't be there, And I know that my experience in Fall River was fairly similar in that we did have people that did try to go into the library. The only difference is they caused the scene before they even got to the steps of the library, to the point where the police were like, "Well, no, this isn't going to be this can't be a thing. You've already caused the problem, so you have to be across the street. If you're going to be here, you can be here. You just can't be in here, because you've already been confrontational without even going into the library." And it's one thing to just scream things like broadly, but when you're specifically in someone's face and you're fighting with somebody, that's an actual confrontation. And that's why and I'm assuming here, because I wasn't in town, I'm assuming that the people that were removed were the ones that were creating those kinds of problems, but there were people in masks or part of this group that didn't get removed,
Correct.
and it was because they didn't say anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That, or it was just that they were just saying stuff, but they weren't in anybody's face.
Right.
But the thing
Right.
is, it's just like, if you're for children,
It's that broad spectrum free speech thing, though.
it's just like their agenda is, we're for saving the children, but
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
terrorizing these kids. I got messages the next day saying my child doesn't want to go to school because they're afraid of the men in the black masks.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
that weighs heavy on my heart, because like at night, like when my fiance goes to bed and I'm just alone with my thoughts, I'm just thinking, I'm like, I feel a little bit responsible because I know they were targeting me, though it wasn't my fault that they came.
Right.
But innocent children were now traumatized because of this, and my heart goes out to every single person that came out.
Right.
And it's like, I just feel like I put everyone else's safety and everything else first, and like it affects me.
Which is amazing, and honestly, that's so commendable.
Yeah,
and
super commendable.
That's the reason why you were in the position you were in the first place, is because you know how to compose yourself, and you know how to handle a situation like that. Even though you've never been exposed to something like that, you handled it perfectly, which is fantastic. And again, going back to my experience in Fall River, we didn't have the same issues. Mostly, I think, because we had people outside of the library. We had like 100 plus.
Yeah, there was like
people
100-something people
outside of the library before, like
saw,
2 hours, 3 hours before the.
But
the
this
event
was
started.
a reactionary thing because they showed up the last time, correct?
Right, correct.
these neo-Nazi guys
Correct.
showed up.
The same group.
The same group
Right,
showed up at the
to Fall River.
previous
Right.
Drag Queen Storytime,
Right.
and so everybody, like the Fall River Pride and the Pride community themselves, the LGBTQA community, were like, not in my house. So
Yeah,
this time,
we need to make sure that we're prepared. And
I'm not gonna lie, Taunton's the same way right now. like
And
literally
here's the
all
thing.
of us.
So Fall River brought in a de-escalation team. There were people that were there to protect. And I don't know if they specifically brought in a team per se, but like they did say we need some support and we're reaching out to you for help and support and love because we want to show them that we're here, we're queer, and we're not going anywhere. You know what I mean? So the group originally, I think the group originally went to Fall River. They drove by and saw the display that was going on.
Yeah.
And they were like,
And they
"Fuck
cashed
that,"
out,
and
yeah.
Turned around and went to Taunton instead because
So-
they didn't show up to Taunton until after 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Like
Like, you were
both
already
of our
going
story
at that
times
point,
started
right?
at the same time. So
Yeah.
So it was pretty interesting.
How and I know that this is gonna just be me fucking screaming to the choir, but like how cowardly do you have to be to show up with hats, masks, glasses, the khaki black top uniform that they've
Yep.
come up with, go to disrupt something, see that you're outnumbered, and go, well, what's the other event? It's like showing up at a bar before close and then being
Yeah.
like, no, we're not going to serve you. Okay, well, which bar's open?
Yeah.
Yeah. Except far more violent.
Yeah. Far more violent. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they chickened out because these are a bunch of children. They're like not the fun ones that like to listen to stories about mittens. Like,
The children behaved better than they.
oh yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
I had children then asking me questions about the books, and I was just like, "You're not scared? There's one sitting right behind you."
I know.
And they're like, yeah.
I was like,
But he loves
right there.
and I was like, that is one badass kid, and I can picture that kid's face perfectly. And asking me that question, I was like, there is a man with a mask behind you, but I'll answer your question.
And he's like, oh, whatever,
And it
I
was-
want to know. I
Little
want to
kid
know
being
how
like,
boy
"Fuck
finds
that
that
guy."
mitten.
I know. Like, what about that damn mitten?
Oh God.
Did Nana make him another one? Like,
Did Nana make him another
did
man?
does Nana make him another
Did
one?
Nana make him another
No,
man?
he just
I
got
haven't
it.
read the
That's
Oh,
story.
he found his
Yeah,
man.
he found it back.
Okay.
It was all
All right.
stretched out.
Yeah, it's all.
It was
Yeah.
like
That's
a
good.
bear,
That's good.
like went in it.
So this is actually a great segue to my next question for you. I put the question out there into Facebook land of how do you feel about Drag Queen Storytime, and I got some mixed reviews. I did get mostly positive reviews from people and positive comments, which I thought was great. I did get a couple of people that had other opinions, and then I also got a couple of comments in my inbox. But before I address that, the first thing I want to say is, all you're doing is reading stories to kids.
Yes,
Correct.
so-
There's no drag show. There's no like dancing and singing and
Not at all.
lewd
So
costumes and
Nope.
right.
there's a time and place for everything, and I obviously know the time and place. Like every time I try to go, I try to cover all my skin, if not, like there's a little bit showing. But that's the thing. It's just I feel like the far right media, and I don't mean to like press blame because I get it. Like it sucks to be like I don't know singled out, but the far right media is telling these people that we're reading books on how to be transgender, how to be gay, and that's not true. I'm reading a book about a frickin' mitten.
That's-
lost in
yeah.
the snow, and it's just like it's false news and it's fake
Yeah.
news, and I'm sure we could go back to 2020 and talk about fake news, and we know where that
Yeah.
came from.
I read a comment actually on so the Fall River, as I said before, the Fall River Reporter filmed the event, and he was first of all
It was weird.
he was
I
met
watched
with some,
it.
he was
Yeah.
met with some aggression.
Yeah.
But I think that most of it was because the people on the LGBT side weren't really sure where he stood.
Yeah, because he
didn't really
was
make
very
it known.
nebulous. He was
didn't
very
really
nebulous.
have any credentials. And this is that slippery slope because legally speaking, he had every right to be in all parts of the library. He was allowed to film. It wasn't an issue. But then we had people that didn't want to be filmed and complained about being filmed. And here's the thing about that. Like, you can say, hey, can you please not film me? But if you're in a public
There's
setting,
no expectation of privacy in a
you
public
can't-
setting.
You can't expect,
None.
like, if somebody says, well, I respect your request.
But you're here. You're
but
in
here,
public,
I'm
and
gonna
therefore,
film. I'm
yeah.
a reporter. I'm gonna film everything.
Right.
So that's another one of those situations where, like, it's really tricky because, you know, you're volunteering to be in that public space. You know, regardless of whether or not you want to be recorded, it's really up to the person that's recording to decide whether or not they're going to record you or not. It's really not
Well,
up to you.
and also, and I like the fact that you and I are kind of playing devil's advocate on this one, is that these people are voluntarily
Mm-hmm.
putting themselves within a very hot, controversial issue. What did you, like, expect people
Right.
to ignore you? You made the choice
Right.
to come out and be loud about
Right.
it,
Right.
so expect people to pay attention.
Right, and the Fall River Reporter guy actually said a few times, like, you guys are really fucking up because you have an opportunity, you have a platform right now. Like, I have people watching this, and a lot of the people that were watching that specific live stream are against Drag Queen Storytime.
Yeah, it's a very conservative.
So-
It's a very conservative page.
Yeah.
But he, I will say, did a good job. Most of it, he was
There
met.
were a few instances, and I watched it again last night, just to refresh myself, and there were a few instances where you know, he went inside the building. He was met with some problems. He had people that didn't want to let him in. He said something to the police, and the police were like, well, this is a public place, you have to let him go inside.
Right.
And the people stepped aside. He went inside. He noticed there were no issues. He filmed Miss Glory, you know, reading books or whatever. And then as he was going back outside, he was met with more problems with the group.
Yeah, and that's what I saw. I honestly think that the community misstepped when, like, as I was watching this, I was like, you guys kind of like They met everything with far more aggression than that was necessary.
Yeah.
Like they just saw a guy with a camera who
But
was
to be
not
fair-
wearing a
but to
rainbow
be
and was
fair,
like, "Arr."
and to go to what happened with Monica and everything. I mean, those are two completely different things. And what happened to Monica is what happened the last time at Fall River Drag Storytime. So I can understand the frustration and the built-up aggression and being as assertive as they were because they were only reacting to what happened the last time, which was what happened to you.
I mean, so I watched the live stream from that reporter as well, and like it was an hour long, so I didn't watch the
Yeah, I
whole thing.
skimmed a lot of
I
it.
skimmed it, but it was just me and my friend and my fiance. We were looking, and we were just like, "Is he for us? Is he against us? I don't know." And then like I found a part, and I was like, "Okay, I think he's like just neutral, and like he's not against it." So like I understand that there was aggression, but I
Right.
also understand how the reporter must have felt too. It's just he's trying to report and do
Right.
his job, and
Right.
I feel like
And he was met with a lot of aggression,
Yeah.
and it got to the point where he got really frustrated. There was a point where he addressed the mayor and he addressed the police chief, and you know, he's like, "Come on, you guys aren't doing anything about this." But what he was referring to was he was claiming that he was being attacked, and that was
wasn't true.
not the case.
It
was
He
not
was
true at
not
all.
being attacked. And there were a couple of times where he wanted to go through a space, and people were standing in the way, and he walked into them and then said, "They pushed me, and that
And it was
wasn't
all
the
on
case.
camera.
That's not what happened. And he was like, "I have it all on my live stream," and I'm like, "All right, well, I just watched this 3 times."
Yeah,
Like,
nobody pushed you,
nobody
bruh.
pushed you, but you walked
Tone.
into people that were blocking. Yeah, they were blocking
Yeah.
your way, and the appropriate response should have been, and what he did do a couple times was it should have been to point it out to the police and say, "Hey, you know, they're
Right.
violating my rights to walk in this public space." And
Yeah,
that's-
so nobody was perfectly right or perfectly wrong in that
No.
situation.
Correct.
So
Correct.
I have to admit, as somebody who watches a lot of conservative media for my own reasons, maybe it's because it's like watching a car accident sometimes. But it really is. It's highly entertaining. But watching it, that was the way that situation was probably the best way it could have gone. And I can also understand why the queer community reacted so aggressively.
Right.
So like the other side of it is these are the type of people that stormed our fucking Capitol.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So like sometimes you don't know what they're capable of. A lot of them are little baby bitches, but like sometimes you just like, oh my god.
So with all of that being said, I mean, again, I do want to play devil's advocate because I do want to make sure that, you know, we try to see things from both sides as best we can. I have a friend who is, I don't want to say they're extremely conservative, but, you know, they have their opinions. They're very set on their opinions. I did reach out to this person to get their opinion because I was curious. I wanted to know because I knew that the response was going to be not the same as what I've been getting, which is, you know, an outpouring of support and whatever. So the reason why I reached out is because I do want to address this, and I want to see what both of your responses are as being members of the drag community. I want to know how you retort these things. And this also goes to the viewers out there. If you're part of the drag community, anything that we discussed today, if you do want to call in when we get to the speakeasy segment, feel free to readdress things and bring things up. But so with that being said, I asked this person what their opinions are on drag story time and drag queens. And what they said, and I'm going to quote them letter for letter, they said, "My opinion is that drag queens mock womanhood. It's the equivalent of blackface for women. It's grown men appropriating and mocking what it means to be a woman by characterizing them as hookers with too much makeup. I think it's grooming kids to expose them to this sort of shit. And I question, in one of the most educated states in the country, why libraries invited drag queens to read to children. Are there no doctors, writers, teachers, etc.?"
There is so much to unpack there.
There's
so much to unpack.
There's a lot to unpack
say.
there.
I mean, for me, honestly, drag is just, I don't know.
But
It's
wait,
art.
I'm sorry. Before
Okay,
before you guys respond, let me
Yeah,
let me start by saying this. For somebody that isn't a part of the community, somebody that is not part of the LGBT community, okay, it's very easy for someone to not really understand what the true intention is, what the angle actually is. Okay, so for them and for me thinking about it from their perspective, I think that that's a very innocent response in terms of
Calling us whores?
No. In terms of the fact that they're not part of the community, so
Right.
they don't see it from all angles. What they see is, you know, and maybe this person, I don't really know, just sees the things that they see in the nightclubs or the things that they see on RuPaul's Drag Race on TV or whatever. So they assume that because they've never been to a Drag Queen Storytime, they've never been to any of these things, so they don't know that there is another side to it. So I do believe that there are people out there who are unintentionally ignorant to the intentions of people that are genuinely trying to make a difference.
A lot of it is intentional as well, though.
Right.
You have these people who do not want to ruin their own personal narrative and therefore won't do any research.
Right.
They won't even
Fair.
check.
Fair.
Reading
So
is what?
all right. So with all that being said,
Fundamental.
I
Exactly.
want your responses to all of that, and then
So what
I'll
I
go
was,
from there.
What I was just saying was, reading is what?
Fundamental.
So, I feel like
Read-
that person didn't do the research.
Read a
I mean,
book.
I understand a little bit from what they're saying, and I get it just because of what they're exposed to. They're exposed to just their side and the people that are thinking that way as well. But you have to do your research. I mean, like I said, I'm dyslexic, but I don't read a lot. But when I do try to do the research on why do people think certain ways and like.
But what is it that you think is what is it that you think is going to change their mind though? Because for me, it's like if they categorize drag performers as this particular kind of thing, like in any light, right? What that person is saying is that in any light, regardless of whether or not you're scandalously clad or you're dressed head to toe covered, right? You're still mocking women. You're mocking women, and that's how they take it. Do you think that like what do you think about that?
I got one question first.
Yeah.
This person, male or female?
Doesn't matter. Irrelevant.
No, it does.
Why?
It does, because how can you say that you're mocking women if you're not one? And this is coming from the only person in the room with a vagina, so.
You don't know what I got, girl.
Amen.
Bitch.
Here we go.
She's like,
Here we
all
go.
right. But no,
Here we go,
like,
guys.
I have two things to say about it, all right? And regardless of this person's gender.
Right.
And as I said earlier, they don't want to do the research as to what it is. Drag is an art form. I think we can
Yep.
all kind of agree that drag is an art form because it's not just queens anymore. It's not just kings anymore. Even before that, it was all about hyper-feminization and almost like in a tribute fashion. But their problem, let's be honest, their problem is not drag queens. Their problem is the gays. That's
I don't know
their
about that.
issue.
See, I disagree.
Yeah,
I wholeheartedly disagree with that.
You think that the
Yeah.
problem isn't
I don't
the
think- I don't think the
LGBTQA
problem
community?
is no, absolutely not. I don't think that it necessarily has to do with somebody being gay. I think that it's the art of drag itself is just something that they're not into. They're just opposed to it.
Yep.
I don't think that it has anything to do with someone's sexuality.
I think
by
we
any
also
means.
get confused with like cross-dressers who use it for kink, and we're not that. We're using it for an art form. I mean, drag is for everyone. It's their own thing, and for me, like when I'm in drag, one, I get to express my feminine self, but also like my name comes from Pink, which her real name is Alicia Moore. That's why I'm Monica Moore. But like, so when I'm on stage, I embody her, and that's what it is for me. And like, I always wanna, I wanna be a performer, whatever it is. Like I sing and play piano, and I know you sing too, and so it's just like that's my first step of getting out there. Is I think that for me, it's just like this is my start of my rides to wherever I go.
Right.
And it's different for everybody. So some people it may be just to mock women. Some people it may be just because it's an art form and they like to practice makeup. Some people it just might be, for my case, they just want to get their name out there somehow. And
I want to make people forget about their lives for 3.5 minutes. Like that's, I just want to entertain people, and and make sure that they have fun. And if I make money doing it too, fuck yeah! Like that's my deal.
For me, it's just like running around in this like
Feeling
on stage
pretty
and
and-
feeling pretty. It's just like connecting with the people and seeing the smiles and the laughs. Like that's what I take home. Like because I struggle with mental illness and like I struggle with depression and like anxiety. So I know what it's like to feel that way.
Right.
And if I can make someone smile for 3 minutes of their time and they have a good time when they go home and they're like, hey, tonight was really fun. That's what matters to
See, now this is where I think it's really interesting because for you, you're looking at it in an entertainment standpoint where you're like, I can be myself as myself and perform and do whatever, but then I can put on this persona and be this other person and entertain and be entertaining. And then you have someone like Sean, who's the president of the Pride Committee.
Who
Hopefully
is Sean's in the comments.
Hey Sean. Hopefully you call in when we get to that point. And I don't want to speak for you, but I believe that Sean is somebody that, they believe that you should be able to express yourself. And for Sean, it's I have the freedom, Sean, from what I've seen, is very gender fluid and would like to express themselves in any way that they want to. And I believe that people have that right to do that.
And that's amazing.
Now,
I really do. So
again, playing devil's advocate. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Turtle Boy. Have you ever heard of Turtle Boy?
Yep.
So Turtle Boy writes articles about people. In doing research on, this whole thing, I've gone through some articles that Turtle Boy wrote about some drag queen story times that have happened. Now, in those articles, one of the performers was extremely political, made it into an extremely political thing. One of them covered themselves in peanut butter and jelly and read to the kids, covered in peanut butter and jelly.
What?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And one of them, was dressed so inappropriately. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is because would you say that it's a fair statement to say that not everybody that's in the drag community is like you or is like Sean in that, it's very innocent and it's very...
Yeah, absolutely.
They exist,
Absolutely.
correct?
Yeah, there are outliers in every community.
Right.
Like in every single community, there are the people who will, there are the...
There's bad apples in every group.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, exactly. Like...
It's like, just why aren't people protesting the church? There's been enough there.
Why are you bringing your 8-year-old son to Hooters? You know,
exactly.
like
It's just like there's a time and place, and some people know that time and place, and some people don't. And the people that don't, that's the reason why this keeps happening.
Right.
This is why we keep getting attacked, is because the people that don't know time and place. But the network that I've been working with, they know that I know the time and place.
Right.
And that's not my goal. I'm not trying to spread no agenda. I'm just trying to bring inclusion for other people. And for me, it's like I grew up and I didn't have anybody to look up to like this. The only person I had, honestly, was Pink, and like she was the reason I am the person I am today.
Right.
And it's just like I want to be able to have someone look up to me like I looked up to her, and that's what I want.
And that's cool. Like
That's
that's wicked cool. I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, and we like being queer and in the 80s and 90s was not okay. Like it just didn't work.
Which is so crazy because you have like Elton John and like, all these people. And
but
it's
if
just,
you
like, my dad and the same thing. My dad was born in '81, and like when I came out, it was.
Oh
Like,
God, I'm old enough to be your
my
mom.
gosh.
It's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Well, my dad, he had a hard time
fine.
with it, and like me and my dad don't talk anymore. But the thing is, it's just like you grew up listening to people like Elton John. It's like, and Janis Joplin, and like all these queer like musicians. It's so crazy that people aren't accepting nowadays, and I can't believe we're having this conversation in 2023 about this. I don't know.
It's yeah.
Right. Sean, I know that you're out there, you're watching. Now would be a great time for you to call in and chime in to this conversation, because I do have more questions and I do have things that I'd like to add, and I would absolutely love your input. So if you are out there in internet land, give us a call, 508-802-4356, and we will get you on the line. For everybody else, please hold off on calling in until our speakeasy session, because we want to make sure that we cover everything that we wanted to cover for our episode today.
Can I also interject real quick?
Yeah,
of course.
I just want to say that like I made a tweet the other day, and so 24 hours ago, but it's already reached at least 100,000 people, and the support that I have gotten has been the main reason that I'm still continuing and doing this, and like the support's been amazing. I mean, we had Shangela shout me out on
That was
Twitter,
pretty
and
dope, though.
Yeah,
That was
amazing.
pretty dope.
Yeah,
She was
yeah.
sending her condolences and love to me, and then she ended up finding me, and she ended up retweeting it, and just like
I love Shangela. I
yeah,
love me some Shangela.
amazing, and
You're right over there.
Jan over there,
Yeah.
like,
Good.
she liked the
We're good.
tweet, and
Oh.
then Vice News covered it.
Yeah.
It's just I feel the support I have around me is what's keeping me going, and
Yeah.
I will be back.
Okay, so with that, I'll be back.
I'll be back,
With that being
baby.
said, Monica, on the line we do have Sean Connell, who is the president of the Fall River Pride Committee, who was also the other reader in Fall River. So everyone say hi to Sean.
Hey, Sean.
Sean, say hi to everyone.
Damn it! I knew it was gonna happen.
Oh no.
1 second, Sean.
It worked fine when we were.
Oh, hey, girls, hey.
There we go.
Hey, girl, hey.
All right, Sean, how you doing?
Okay, so I'm not going to lie. This is so weird because there's not a delay on my phone, but there's a quick delay on your podcast. So
Yeah, there's gonna be a
Weird.
delay
Yeah,
on the
that's how it's gonna be. So
podcast.
turn down
the
your
podcast.
and just talk to us on the phone.
Yeah.
You're listening on the podcast.
You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of. And now we go live to Jim out in the field. Jim, how you doing?
It's all right.
Hey, Karen, how's it going?
All right, Sean, hi. Are you still with
Can you
us?
hear me now?
Yes,
Yes.
we can hear you.
I had to I just muted the podcast, and I am here for the love. And I can mostly hear you guys through my phone, so that works okay.
All right, fantastic. So, hi, how are you?
Oh, just living the American dream, dealing with Nazis again, normal weekend activities.
Like you do.
Fair. So, do you have anything you want to add to anything that we've discussed so far?
Yeah, I think it's really important that these conversations are being had in general, because, you guys, those who know me, like, I am very happy, very willing to discuss and debate. As an educator, I'm all about what we want to discuss, and how we want to discuss what's appropriate for what the kids to learn. Because you go down this whole ridiculous thing that education is indoctrination. All education can be seen as indoctrination at that point then. That's how that works, right? Because it's about what kids should know. And I'm just trying to be, who I needed when I was a kid. I think there's a big part of that missing when they talk about, well, why do drag queens have to do it? Why kids? And I think they need to realize that it's not that we're going after kids on purpose. We're going after kids for the same reason why anybody, does children's entertainment, for fun and for education, and for us queer adults to show those queer kids that we made it out onto the other side.
Right. No, that's absolutely true.
Can you type that out and send that to me so I can, like, when people ask me, I can copy and paste
Just
it?
copy pasta the shit out of it.
Yes.
'Cause
Just be
I'm
like,
so
fucking
sick of
this.
answering that question.
So Sean,
My
I'm gonna throw a word at you, and I want you to give me your response to said word. Okay?
Okay.
How do you feel about the word groomer?
Let me take 2 breaths here. I find that word absolutely infuriating. For someone like myself, I actually work in youth development. It's actually libelous to call me a groomer. I've been court and story checked repeatedly to work in youth development. And I think it is a baseless accusation because people don't like to be called homophobic. So they're like, I'm not homophobic. I have a gay friend, but you're grooming kids.
Yeah,
And that is ridiculous. Like, that's just totally, completely ridiculous. It ignores statistical realities around who is actually being trafficked. It ignores statistical realities that actually a lot of gay men themselves are groomed by quote-unquote straight men with money and sexually trafficked. You know, we actually just did a big training at work today on human trafficking.
That literally
And so
happened in
it's,
Stoughton. That happened in
I
Stoughton
think-
with 3 police officers who groomed a young girl from the age of 14 in the police advocacy program.
Oh wow.
And they raped her. Like, it.
Oh wow.
But did you all hear about that?
No.
No, but you heard about Monica and her mittens.
Sure did.
Monica and her mittens.
Monica's
I wasn't even
mittens.
wearing my mittens.
You weren't even wearing mittens.
So Sean, what happened? So can you just tell everybody that's watching what happened? I believe what was it in December originally that caused us to be at the point that we were at for Saturday's Drag Storytime. Can you start there and then kind of touch on what happened in your opinion on Saturday?
Yeah, so it started technically in November when we had our drag story time, and there was a handful of self-identified Proud Boys who came in to goad us, to tell us how we're deviants, to tell some of us who are parents that they're child abusers, they should have their kids taken away. Very pointed things, specifically to goad people. That's what they do. So that way when, you know, they get punched in the face, it's a whole shock that they got punched in the face and it's somehow our fault. So there's that. And then December, I think, you know, we had anticipated there could be more presence, but we didn't anticipate it at the level that they were at, you know, that there was almost 40 of them, and that they got there very early. And immediately when I pulled up, they screamed in my face that I was a fat faggot tranny pedophile who should kill myself. And again, that goes into issues with your First Amendment rights. You know, that's why, you know, in my comments over here, I disagreed that it's not just about our sexuality, because it is. It's about drag and how it touches upon drag and sexuality and gender. And I think that, you know, it's naive to think it's not just about that, because we unfortunately, you know, have been a target for a really long time under a lot of systems of oppression that say gay people should be murdered and killed. And they were legislating, the Supreme Court was legislating, you know, sodomy as recently as 2005. Like, this isn't like this is, you know, something that's new, unfortunately, and it's not something that's old. So I think we have to understand that what they're trying to do isn't just intimidate, but it is trying to exterminate, that they genuinely do not want LGBT people to be alive, let alone drag performers.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think there's a difference, again, between the people who want to talk about how we educate kids and those who just want to shout groomer at me.
Now, the people that were at your story time in November, is that the same group that was at the Taunton event?
I don't think so, because there's 2 different people. The NSC 131 were the people who were definitely at Taunton. They're the militant, neo-Nazi, you know, self-proclaimed. A lot of people are like, you can't just say people who disagree with you are Nazis. And it's like, no, these are self-proclaimed Nazis who shout Nazism as a way, hail Hitler kind of deal.
Right.
And then there was a second group called the Proud Boys. And the Proud Boys were also at our drag story time in December. I'm not sure if they also showed up to Taunton or not.
Right. I just think that it's very important to acknowledge the fact that there are multiple groups out there. It's not just one group that's out there trying to attack the community. There are multiple groups, and I actually remember on Saturday, and this person was actually caught on camera saying this by the Fall River Reporter. somebody that was a part of the group that was at the protest on Saturday was like, well, I made flyers and I sent all these flyers out. So like, you know, word is getting out from the other side. These people are definitely trying to recruit and trying to build their team and you know, with whatever their
team.
are. I don't know.
Making it sound
Is
like
that
a
what it-
marketing team. Like
they're the, you know.
you said that you had a couple of questions for
Yeah,
Sean.
so I did have a couple of questions, but I do have a statement. So the neo-Nazis, they covered their face, but it's crazy because they call themselves neo-Nazis, but back in the 1940s...
They wore sheets.
No, not even sheets, but like the real Nazis showed their face.
Yeah, real
So,
Nazis showed their
anyway,
face.
but I did have a question for Sean. One, what do you want to go by? Do you want to go by Sean or Miss Gloria? And then two, how do you deal with this type of backlash? Because obviously you're kind of experienced in this. And for me, this is being my first time. What would your advice be to me?
Well, I kind of take almost a page out of RuPaul's book where you can call me he, she, and they. You can call me Sean, you can call me Miss Gloria, as long as you call me kind of thing. You know, so I kind of make it easy in that way because I'm comfortable with all the facets of me. And I think that's what you have to take with you in this. You know, you cannot let them see you sweat. You know, when they were screaming at my face, as much as my blood was boiling, I was just giggling and filming them. You know, I think it's important that we know exactly who we are, that we know where we stand in the community, that we know what we've done for the community, we know what our goals and aims are of Storytime. You know, even that unprofessional Fall River reporter who I had issues with, when they came in, you know what they saw? Me being adorable and reading adorable stories and doing adorable crown craft. And that's what it's going to have to be, unfortunately, to take that time to change hearts and minds. And you're not going to do it overnight, and there's going to be people like the Nazis who there are no minds changing, right? There's no hearts changing there. But this is a part of a bigger narrative that's playing out in the nation right now, and we are a part of that fabric. And the more that we can showcase that we're just normal, regular people, that drag is as much as a performance art as it is a nightclub event, and that LGBT people form families in different ways, and that we are members of the community at large. We're not the ones with hoods on, with our masks on. I've been very public and very vocal about this. And again, I'm willing to discuss with anybody who actually wants to have a discussion. But if your discussion is rooted in my grooming or extermination or your own, just disgusting homophobia, then I'm not going to have that conversation.
Right.
I like what Carly said. Carly in the chat, she was like, "It's the last gasp of the dinosaurs. It's them just screaming screaming to the heavens that something's going wrong, but it's just gonna not work out in the end. But not that it's not going to be violent and painful to get through. It's going to be about as comfortable as passing a kidney stone. But
So Sean, is this going to be the last that we see of Miss Gloria?
Absolutely not. Definitely not. We are planning another one for February, March, April, May, and June. Because this is our community. We're not going to back down to fear. We're not going to be goaded into that we're something we're not. We're not going to allow ourselves to be called sexual child predators and molesters and all these ridiculous, outlandish accusations. We're going to keep showcasing exactly what it is that we do, which is spread love, showcase diversity, and teach kids about inclusion in age-appropriate ways.
Right. Also, while I have you on the air, I just want to thank you and the Fall River Pride Committee for sponsoring our show today. So thank you for that.
Of course.
He's up in the corner.
We love you. We love you. Do you have anything else that you want to add? Any questions you have for Monica? Anything you have for us?
No, me and Monica, we already were chatting, girl. We were texting because I think it's important for people within our community to connect. And the more we connect, the more we can kind of stand united.
Right.
The more we can stand united, the harder it's going to be for these Nazis to continue to try to disrupt our event.
Right.
Me and Monica are out here. Our face is on the news. We have nothing to hide of who we are and what we've done.
Right.
And the Nazis should be absolutely, completely ashamed of themselves. And anyone who's supporting the Nazis should be absolutely, completely ashamed of themselves. Again, you want to disagree. You want to talk about what's appropriate. I'm here for that conversation.
Yep.
You want to support Nazis or think that what the Nazis are doing is okay or appropriate, you can fuck off.
You can fuck off. That's wonderful and inspiring words.
Well, Sean, we appreciate you calling in. Thank you for that. And thank
Thanks,
you
Sean.
for everything you had to contribute.
My
to that.
pleasure. Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely. We'll talk to you soon, Sean. I'm sure we'll have you back.
I'll text you later.
I'm always around, my dear, especially for you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, so with that being said, I know that I was talking to a couple of people from the network, so I did want to give anybody from the South Coast Network the opportunity
Are
to
they
call in.
still at
But
the city council?
I was just going to say so the Taunton City Council meeting is happening tonight, and they are addressing what happened to you on Saturday. So I know that started at like 6:30 or 7 o'clock. So there's a good chance that they're still in the meeting.
Yeah,
So I told them that if they couldn't call in, that was absolutely fine. That we would touch base with them and catch up with them later. So, with that being said, we are going to move on to our speakeasy portion of the show. The speakeasy. So the speakeasy section is the part where you, the caller, get to call in and you get to talk to us and speak on anything that we discussed, anything that's on your mind. You can say hi to Monica Moore and find out where you can catch Monica performing or reading again. So with that, the lines are open. Feel free to give us a call, 508-802-4356. Lines are open. Call us. Speak your mind. We want to hear from you. This is a very, very important topic. I know that somebody called earlier, and they're calling back. Here we go.
And they're calling back,
There they are.
so
That is that person.
it's
Are
all
we
good.
Oh,
I believe we're okay. Hi,
You
you're
are.
on the
Yeah.
air.
What's your name? Who are you?
Hi.
am I really on?
Yeah.
You're on.
I'm so far behind with my Wi-Fi right now. Like the podcast is going crazy.
Yeah,
It's like, yeah, it's a quick delay.
All right. So
So
first of
this
all,
is
tell us
Jesse,
who
by
you
the way.
are.
This
Yeah.
is Jesse.
Who are you?
Who are you?
So-
Who art thou?
I am Jesse. I met you on maybe a couple nights ago. I saw you guys canceling Andrew. I went to the bar.
Oh, okay.
Oh, hey, buddy.
So yeah, we talked about laminar flow and like the frame rates of human vision and stuff like that. I just figured out who I talked to about that earlier.
No, I totally
So-
remember that.
Sounds a little deep for me. So.
I know. I was about to say you just went astral.
Okay, one second. I'm
What
gonna
would you
turn
like to add, man?
On
Life is a simulation.
my computer.
But
Hello?
so basically, I wanted to call in and talk about the whole because Justin has this whole unity vibe going on. He wants to find a compromise for everyone, right? And I love that because that's who I am too, at the core of my person. I just wanted to address some things that I really didn't get to hear you guys elaborate on.
Okay. Yeah.
When Justin, so Justin mentioned someone that was in his inbox and said, "Oh, these people are doing this and that," and then you gave more examples too, as well, from another source of information that said that these people are doing this with peanut butter and jelly and blah 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 blah. So, yeah, there's very inappropriate actions that are taking place, which shouldn't stigmatize an entire community, obviously,
Right.
right? But what people fail to realize is that cross-dressing, or what is the origin of drag, for instance, that's been going on for thousands of years.
Look at our
In 2000 BCE, there were people in ancient Greece that were doing this. That was like the birthplace of it. They used to call them priests and
there are
gods.
plenty of cultures out there that worship people who are considered non-binary gender.
So didn't Hoover
parents, too.
Yeah,
Like,
they
there's
have those
many
special
genders
spiritual
something,
people. Yeah.
didn't Hoover wear
I
a
mean, when
dress?
you think of a god, I mean, a god it should be genderless.
Or that wore dresses.
If it's a balance, fair to say.
Right.
Because God can't be all without being everything. And if it's not everything, then it's not. It has to be a man or a woman. I mean, or anything in between. That's how I do that. But that's what I wanted to call in to talk about, was the origin of where this actually stems from. And
I mean, yeah, it's definitely evolved from different cultures over millennia.
Right, and I think the same thing can be said for like the LGBT community in terms of like sexuality. Even they talk about how same genders being sexually compatible or whatever a lot of people believe that that's just something that happens in humans.
God, no.
I mean, it happens in the animal
Dude,
kingdom all the time.
fucking sweetest thing that I know about is that 2 male penguins will adopt penguins that lose their parents.
Well,
They will do
They
that.
all
That's
the gay
awesome.
yeah, it's very common in the birds.
yeah.
But the gay penguins, there are gay penguins, there are gay flamingos. Flamingos do the same thing,
There's
where
gay lions.
they take care of all the orphans.
Yeah. These are.
I wonder if I was adopted by a gay
This
penguin.
is not something that's just.
I don't
know.
It's not just something that's part of the human race. It's you know. It
Oh God,
happens in-
yeah.
In nature everywhere, yeah.
Yes.
Also, on all your Christmas cards that you get, they have 2 red cardinals. Red cardinals are males, so you have
Yeah,
technically
gay
cardinals.
birds. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that. That's an
female
interesting
cardinals are
fact.
brown.
For all of you that have Christmas cards,
So,
2 red
my
cardinals.
last talking point I wanted to get to, right? I'm sorry to cut you off.
Jesse has another
About the
topic.
Cardinals.
Jesse, what do you got?
So my last talking point that I wanted to get to was this, right? Was that there is a lot of aggression in certain communities that is going against what seems to be a very, very peaceful event. And I apologize to your guests. I do not know their name at the moment. I forgot it when I was drunk at the bar. But I apologize for whoever harassed you or anything, because once I heard the story on this podcast, I am just like blown away that anybody had a problem with what you were doing. You didn't do anything wrong, you know. But there have been instances, as Justin mentioned,
Yeah.
You would
where people have done things that seem wildly outlandish.
Yeah.
But the path that we have to take as a community, as a community of individuals who understand logic and reason, because that's what we have to bring to the table here in order to deflate the narrative that's being built, right? We have to take that stigmatization off the table for everyone,
Yeah.
because we can't sit here and we can't force another group to stop stigmatizing one group while they're at the same time simultaneously stigmatizing them.
Yeah.
Because I hear a lot of things too. Like I hear a lot of generalizations about conservatives and certain people from certain backgrounds in life. And when you group someone together, like when you say things like the Proud Boys, or you say like these neo-Nazis, as long as they are a part of that group and they do identify as that, that's awesome. That's fine. You can slander them all day.
which is what
But
we're doing.
like
We're not
yeah, I think the MAGA thing is a little played out. I feel like that you can generalize too much and you can lose allies.
Yep.
Just as somebody else could. Like they could lose allies for conservatives, and there are gay people that supported Donald Trump, right?
No, and honestly,
But then
it's
people
just
who have
funny you
those-
said that, because that's one of the points that that Sean brought up, is that when we were discussing what happened at the events, what happened at Monica's event, and what happened in Fall River, the comment section was flooded with like, you know, you can't have it both ways, because you can't be upset by being called, you know, things like faggot or whatever, and then you're turning around and calling these people Nazis. Well, no.
They
These
call
people
themselves
yeah,
Nazis.
That's true. No, I know.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about being specific about how we generalize those types of people and what labels we put on them.
Wait,
You know what I mean?
we were just
So
talking
we
about people who do
specify
call
as the people who
themselves
are producing things,
like
and we don't.
calling all straight
what
people
they
Nazis.
want.
We were just saying that these guys who say they are Nazis are Nazis.
All right, I do.
Yeah, no, I know. I was more referring to the comments, because I saw a lot of generalizations in the comments of the podcast from viewers, and I know that I kind of have my chance to speak my part to like everyone now, you know.
Yeah.
But that's basically where I was headed with that, is that we all have to, instead of overgeneralizing, be very specific in the groups that we do slander or we do discipline, like verbally discipline in these situations. So that way, everything is very concise. And when people view the situation, people who might not be interested enough to get deep into it, they can see everything for what it actually is.
Right.
You know, and that will help people kind of garner like that general knowledge, that general consensus, if you will.
Fair.
So the last thing I'm gonna say
You already
You
said
used
the
it.
is
last.
that
Come on,
policing.
Jesse.
No. This is the last piece of that
This
part.
isn't the Jesse
So the
show.
last thing I'm gonna say, the last
This
piece,
is Jesse in
is that we
time.
have to
This
start
is
Jesse
policing
in
each
time.
other.
We have to keep moving.
And
so
if we belong to a certain community,
Thanks, Uncle Jesse.
Thank you.
He brought some.
He brought us some
He
amazing
did.
points.
He totally did.
But
Totally
I
did.
didn't want to sit here until the next Drag Queen
No, I know.
Storytime in February, so you know, like,
It's almost time for karaoke.
So we are still in our speakeasy portion. If you want to call, now's the time to do so. 508-892-4356. Like I said, I want to try to get through, as many callers as want to call in, because I know that a lot of people expressed opinions and.
But he did,
saying
like
that
you
they
said, he
wanted to
did
call
bring
in.
up a couple of valid points,
Fantastic points.
which is don't broadly generalize. And me and my partner were actually having this discussion last night,
Yeah.
where there's that. It's gonna sound. Yeah, you brought this on yourself, my guy. But we've got that straight fragility, like or white fragility,
Yeah.
where people are like, well, not me, or like male fragility, where it's like, me too, all men,
Yeah.
and people are, well, not me,
Yeah.
and it's like, no, it's not you, but as a whole, maybe, like
All right, so
people get
before
offended.
Before we address any more callers on the show, guys, if you are calling into the show, please make sure that you are muting your live stream that you're watching, and
Yes.
you're focusing only on your phone so that you can hear us and we can hear you clearly.
And you don't get
With
an echo.
that being said, you are live on the air. Who are we speaking with?
I mean, we know who we're speaking with.
I'm just giving them a chance to talk. Are you there, caller?
I like how you're saying caller,
Hello?
like you don't know who it
Hello?
is.
Can you hear me?
I can hear
Yes.
you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I just wanted to touch base with you guys.
All right,
I
before
know
you touch
a
base,
big
can you just tell everybody who you
controversial-
are?
A big controversial issue is having the kids involved. I know there's been women rights, black rights, and gay rights. How do you guys feel about bringing the kids involved in the issue?
Okay, but who are you first?
Well, maybe they want to be anonymous.
Okay, that's fine.
That's fine.
They're not, because I can totally.
That's a good question. That was a really good question. So the question was, how do you feel about getting the kids involved? Like, we have women's rights, we have black rights, we have, gay rights.
I
Like, how do
mean,
you feel about
they're
the whole kids
they're
issue?
women and they're black and they're gay. So I mean, and I'm not saying like little kids. Like when we were at Fall Pride or Taunton Pride or anything like that, that was really fun. And there were kids getting their face painted and balloons and clowns and all types of stuff. We're not,
I guess the real question. Let's start with this. How do you feel about getting the kids involved?
I think we already know the answer to that.
I feel like there's a reason why you're asking this question, maybe, or.
Well, I just think it's a controversial issue. Like, kids are innocent; they don't know anything. And
Okay.
when you're weighing it, you look at all these other, religious race groups or anything that happens. Didn't have the kids involved. So I really just wanted to touch base. Do you think that's why you guys are getting a lot of pushback, or do you have any other alternative methods?
I think that's a very valid
Yeah.
point, because I mean,
You're the dad.
You're dealing.
I am
with,
a dad.
You're dealing with innocent lives, and you're dealing with lives that, as being minors, being under the age of 18, the responsibility of that child lies on the parent. So ultimately, like, if you're making the wrong decision, it's the parent's fault, right? Is that a fair statement, or
Yeah, I think, but again, like he's the dad.
so dad?
It's dad.
What my main thing is that, if you don't want your kid to eat vegan, then you're not going to have them eat vegan if you disagree with it. If you disagree with bringing your child to a drag show, then don't do it. Then don't bring them to Drag Storytime.
Right.
It's your right as a parent, I believe, just as much as your right to tell your children that they can learn tolerance and
So would you say that
inclusivity.
Would you say it's fair to say that, like, you have every right to raise your child how you raise your child?
Exactly.
That's what I was gonna ask.
But what about someone else's child? If you are a vegan, and that person is not a vegan, are you going to try to convert that person to veganism?
No, I'm not. Absolutely not.
Yeah, I think it is.
Absolutely not. And can I kind of almost...
Okay, so you just said no, you're not, but like.
I'm not
so
going to
if
try and
you're
get them
if
to do
you're-
it.
If you're a drag queen,
So that's the problem I have is I feel like with these drag shows, they're kind of forced fed to these kids. Is that, am I
what I'm saying
wrong?
is that they're forcing an agenda.
Well, so what I want to also say is some parents that came, they were same-sex parents,
Uh-huh.
So it's like it's fair representation, honestly, because sometimes I do read, like the last reading I did, because I got engaged, I read a book about Worm Loves Worm, which was about two same-sex worms that did get married, but it didn't say you had to be gay or anything. I'm not pushing no agenda, but it's just to.
And there's nothing sexual in the books. That's another thing too. Is I read in the comment section too that people were like, oh, they're teaching them about sex and gay sex.
Yeah, we locked the doors.
That's not
we locked the doors and remember they locked the doors.
Like literally, Sean read a book about Martin Luther King on Saturday, which I thought was, or Martin Luther King Jr., which I thought was really cool. But I mean, I think to speak, caller, on your point, I feel like it's very important to note that, you know, just because these programs exist, just because Drag Queen Storytime is out there in the world, doesn't mean that they are pushing an agenda on anybody. It's just giving people the option to take part in something that they are in agreement with, or something that they do want to take part in. It just because they say we're doing a Drag Queen Storytime at the library, that's not saying anybody that goes to the library has to go to Drag Queen Storytime.
Right.
It's not pushing an agenda like you would be if you were teaching drag storytime in a school. You know what I mean? Like, it's not being forced on anybody. It might be in the public setting, but that doesn't necessarily mean that if you don't believe in it, like, I personally, and I've said this to you guys before, I personally, if I do decide to have children, I won't bring them to a drag story time. And it's not because I don't agree with drag story time, it's because I'll be reading to my kids. I'll be the one that's teaching them about diversity and about, you know, inclusion and about all that stuff. So for me, it's not so much that I don't
y'all
agree
thought
with
it was because he was going to say something else. I saw it.
It's not so much that I don't agree with it, it's that I'm going to be doing it myself, you know, and I don't, you know, I don't need someone else to teach my kid about something that I am fully, you know, knee deep in the first place, being a part of the Fall River Pride Committee, being a part of the South Coast LGBT Network. I'm around these people all the time. So, again, to go back to your question, caller, I don't think that doing Drag Queen Storytime necessarily means that they're forcing an agenda on anybody, or they're forcing you to bring your child or anything like that. You can believe what you want to believe, and if you don't want to bring your kid to Drag Queen Storytime, you don't have to.
She keeps going to take a breath.
Okay, and I agree. And thank you for taking my call.
Shut up.
I just want to say, you know, just leave the kids out of it. There's a lot of stuff that needs to change in this world. Just leave the kids out of it. They're innocent.
I'm just curious as whoa, shit. All right, well, he was angry.
He said, "Leave the kids out." They're innocent.
And he just leave the kids out and they're innocent. But the thing
Monica.
is, so
Monica, comment.
You want to say, like, go ahead.
So I just want to add, it's just I'm not forcing any kids to come to my event. It's just okay. So what about if there is a straight couple that want to bring their children because they don't know how to educate them about our situations, and what if they just want their kids to have an open mind to other people, and it's just like, why are you going to close them off from that?
Right.
If you don't want to bring them, fine, don't. If that's how you want to raise your kid, that's fine. But it's just like, why are you so against parents that want their kids to be open-minded?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Like,
I'm so glad. Listen, I am so glad that person called in.
Yeah, me too.
I felt like this needed to be said.
Yeah.
And somebody needed to say it so that we can address it.
Right.
So the bottom line is,
He got angry. I felt
he was
bad.
angry because he wanted you to leave the kids out of it.
Yeah. And the thing is, they're not your kids.
Right.
They're your kids.
Right.
My kids.
You can do whatever the
My
fuck
kid.
you want with your kids.
Right.
100%.
You know, like, you can
And I
raise
will.
them however
I
you
do.
want to fucking raise them. And I think my irritation is that constant narrative of that same soundbite. The kids are innocent. Leave them out of it. What the fuck are they think we doing with these kids? We're reading them books in a dress with pretty makeup, looking like a
Dressed as
princess.
And it's no
or
different,
You know?
it's no
character.
different if like you're gonna have your kid sit on Santa's lap.
Right.
Yeah.
It's no different if you're gonna have Cinderella come
Yes.
and read a book.
Right.
It's like,
Yes.
It's no different if like it's just if I'm reading a book, I'm just reading a book. It's there's different people, like, types of people in the world, and for people
not-
to be ignorant and wanna like hide them from that, it's just how are your children supposed
Well,
to
I think a lot of these people seem to think.
I think that they think we're playing
they
Pornhub in
think-
these
yeah,
libraries.
they-
That's what I think.
They think that it's like something that you would see in a nightclub or a drag show in a nightclub. And again, to speak on the points of the articles that I did read earlier, there
Yeah,
are
Peggy Banks.
drag
There are outliers.
personalities out there
You know?
that have gone about it the wrong way and have done the wrong thing and are doing it for the wrong reasons and send the wrong message. But I mean, again, there's bad apples in every batch, right?
Right.
It's, you know, it's I feel like that goes without saying.
I could say some shit that
So,
will upset a
with
lot of
that
people,
being
but
said,
I'm not going
yeah,
to.
Very upset. You can call in now. We'll take one more call.
We'll take one more.
508-802-4356. Now's the time to call in. Monica, do you have anything else you want to add to that?
Please.
I feel like there's so much going on.
There's so much,
Go ahead. Just let it all out.
so much to unpack in
This
this
is
episode.
your chance to speak on
So
on
I guess,
the issues.
honestly,
Comment?
it's just like, I feel like the parents have the right to do what they want with their children. If they want to show the people, or show their kids that there's other types of people in the world, do it. Why stop them from learning? And that's the thing. It's just like, reading is what? Fundamental.
Right.
We're teaching them there are other types of people. I'm not telling you have to be like me. I'm not telling you that you have to be a certain way, but there are people that exist that are different from you. And along with that, it's just like seeing all of this happening, and yes, it was such a negative event, but it's come back with so much positivity, and over 100,000 people have already tuned into this.
Right.
On like my Twitter alone, and there's other places reporting this, so it's just all over the world. Right
I was
now.
all over Reddit when
I think you said something really important too, because you said you were talking about acceptance in general. It's not just about finding yourself; it's about accepting that other people need to find themselves. And I think that was a great point to make. It's not about you finding yourself. All right, cool. You decide that you're not part of the community. You're not LGBT. You're straight. Whatever. But accept that there are people out there that
representation.
Yeah.
do,
We will continue to exist, and we're never gonna not exist. And we've existed for
As long as y'all have.
as long as this earth has been here. There's been reports of different types of people, and we've always existed, and we'll continue to do so. And that's why I'm still doing this.
Yeah.
Hey.
And we love you for it. And
So much.
I mean, you're all
we
right,
are
I
so
guess.
excited to see, what the future holds
I'm
for
gonna
you.
trip you next
And
time.
all right, so with that being said, we're gonna move on. I don't think we have any other calls, so we're gonna move on to our last segment, which is usually our first segment, and that is give it a shot.
Yeah.
So
Bethany.
we have on every show I have a recipe that I like to introduce to you guys, something that I like to share with the world. This isn't something that's out there in the world. I actually created a
He
shot.
created this.
So this is a shot that I like to call "Give Me More," and it is actually in honor of you. Because of everything that happened, this is actually going to be a tribute shot. So this shot is called "Give Me More," and let's put the ingredients on the screen. So the shot is orange vodka, peach schnapps, and strawberry pucker. And it's a little sweet, it's a little sour, it's a little sassy, and
Kinda
this is
sounds
a
like one of
tribute
my
to
favorite
you.
drinks.
Oh my god,
So
I can
this is
smell it from
called-
Oh, you
here.
can smell
I
it.
can smell it from
This
here.
is called "Give Me More," and this is a shot that I created just for you. So with that being said, cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, cheers, cheers.
Cheers. I gotta be Irish.
Oh
Oh,
man,
that was good.
Ooh.
it's a Jolly Rancher.
Different things, right?
It tastes like a
Yeah.
lot of
Kind
things.
of weird. Yeah.
I'd buy it in a bottle.
So the shot's called "Give Me More." If you guys want to try it out, it is, like I said, it's equal parts
It's right there.
orange vodka,
On screen.
strawberry pucker, and
That's so cool.
peach tree schnapps. And it is a "Give Me More" shot. So now, if you ever come see me as a bartender and you want to order that shot, it exists in my arsenal now. So
There you go.
now's the time to do it. So Monica, I want to thank you for being on the show today. I want to thank you for speaking your mind and telling your story, telling us what happened. And I want you to know that there are a lot of people out there in the community that support you and support what you do, and we will continue to support you. So thank you for everything that you're doing, and please don't let these people deter you from your journey and your fight and everything that you're trying to do for yourself. So
Well, I want to thank you for one, having me here, two, always giving me the platform to perform, and like I want to thank the network that I worked with and everybody that was involved, and all the supporters and Shangela and all these amazing people that have reached out to me and made sure that I was okay. And my heart goes out to everyone that was a part of this event. And again, we will continue to exist, and I will be back.
Yeah.
I will definitely be back.
Yeah, you
Well,
will.
look, though, everybody in the comments has been saying such nice things about you.
yeah.
The savages are here.
I'm gonna watch
What-
this tonight.
Yeah, right? And just go through all the comments.
What is bad to say?
a few more things I want to touch base on. Number one, if you guys want to donate to the show so that we can upgrade our equipment so we can stop having these sound problems, that would be amazing.
That would be
Our
fantastic.
PayPal, our Cash App, and our Venmo are below. In addition to that, If you watch the show after it has already aired and you want to leave comments, please feel free to do that. We will always check our comment section. If you'd like to call in after the show airs and leave a voicemail, we are still waiting to start a new segment in our show where we listen to voicemails from our prior week's episode. So if you still want to call in after the show airs, you have every right to do that. 508-802-4356. And yeah, I think that's everything. Guys, you have anything you want to add?
If you guys want to donate to me, my cash app is 27 Jason C.
27 Jason C. 27 Jason C.
27 Jason.
27 Jason C.
Yes, and that's it.
Sorry,
With
what
all
was
that
it?
being said, you guys were just in time for some Just in Time. We want to thank you guys for being here. And next week, we were supposed to talk about this week, but we will discuss it next week. We're going to be talking about parents who have kids and how they deal with trying to have a nightlife. So
Yeah.
that's what
That's
we're
gonna be
next week.
your week.
Oh my God, I
That's
get
gonna be your
away!
Be
week.
all about
Yay!
you. All right, so we will see you guys next time.
Don't have them.
Thanks for tuning in, and hasta la pasta.
Hasta la pasta.
Baby, I'm that guy. Nothing off limits when I cross the line. I talk shit when I'm justified. They wanna get it, I'ma give it to them. Who's that? Baby, I'm that guy. Nothing off limits when I cross the line. I talk shit when I'm justified. They wanna get it, I'ma give it to them. Just in time. Just in time.